This is VOA News. I'm Marissa Melton. Police in Hong Kong had to leave the international airport on Tuesday as protesters lobbed water bottles at them. Flights to and from the airport have been canceled for a second day because of pro-democracy protesters occupying the space. The police left the departure hall in a van. Carrie Lam, the city's chief executive, says she's not ignoring protesters' pleas.
I, as the chief executive, will be responsible to rebuild Hong Kong's economy, to engage as widely as possible, to listen as attentively as possible to my people's grievances.
But she stressed that violence is damaging to the rule of law in Hong Kong and will push the city down a path of no return. Stocks moved higher Tuesday after the U.S. delayed the start date for tariffs against China, the AP's Ed Donahue reports.
President Trump says the tariffs on Chinese imports of mobile phones, toys, and other items will not take effect September 1st, but in mid-December.
We had a very good talk yesterday with China, a very, very productive call. I think they want to do something. I think they'd like to do something dramatic.
Before leaving New Jersey, the president said the delayed date was made with the holiday shopping season in mind.
Just in case some of the tariffs would have an impact on U.S. customers, which so far they've had virtually none. The only impact has been that we've collected almost $60 billion from China.
China says trade talks with the U.S. will continue in the next 2 weeks. Ed Donahue, Washington.
In Australia, a man with a history of mental illness is in custody on charges of killing one woman and injuring another in a knife-wielding rampage in downtown Sydney on Tuesday. Police in Australia's largest city say the man stabbed a woman who was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The body of another woman was later found in an apartment near the scene. VOA News. Russia held a memorial service on Monday for 5 scientists killed in a mysterious explosion last week. Authorities have been slowly releasing information about a blast during a rocket test on a platform in the White Sea off northern Russia. AP's Charles de Ledesma reports that there has been conflicting information on the death toll.
Russia's defense ministry initially reported the explosion at the Navy testing range had killed 2 people and injured 6 others. The state-controlled Rosatom Nuclear Corporation then said over the weekend that the blast also killed 5 of its workers and injured 3 others. It's not clear at this point what the final toll is.
U.S.-based nuclear experts say they suspect the explosion occurred during the testing of a nuclear-powered cruise missile. The Kremlin on Tuesday downplayed a series of protests in Moscow over the exclusion of several opposition candidates from local elections. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters that President Vladimir Putin has not commented on the demonstrations because he does not see them as exceptional. Peskov also defended the actions of police, saying they were justified in arresting hundreds of protesters over the past few weeks. Many of the protest leaders, including anti-corruption advocate Alexei Navalny, were already in jail Sunday when some 50,000 people turned out in central Moscow to demonstrate. New analysis by the Brennan Center for Justice shows 12% of U.S. voters could cast ballots in next year's general election that are vulnerable to hacking. AP correspondent Mike Hempen.
The study says about 16 million voters could cast ballots on paperless voting machines, leaving those ballots more vulnerable to hacking. The analysis also says about a third of all local election jurisdictions are using voting machines that are at least a decade old, despite recommendations they be replaced after 10 years. Still, the numbers are an improvement from 2016, when about 20% of voters cast ballots on paperless equipment. Mike Hempen, Washington.
The deputy head of Iran's maritime agency said Tuesday that a tanker seized near the British territory of Gibraltar last month would soon be released by Gibraltar authorities. Iran's Fars news agency, quoting unidentified Gibraltar authorities, said the tanker would be freed by late Tuesday. But Western media reports said a senior official in Gibraltar called the report untrue. Although the Grace 1 was seized by British forces, Britain said on Tuesday that investigations into the tanker were a matter for Gibraltar. The Gibraltar Supreme Court is scheduled to hold a hearing on the case on Thursday. Britain has accused the vessel of violating European sanctions by taking oil to Syria. That's a charge Tehran denies. I'm Marissa Melton. This is VOA News.